Well, today is going to be our session 3 for week 3, obviously. So we will talk about the things that you have to deliver in the previous week, and then we will review the things that you need to deliver for next week. So let's start. Let me just share my camera, and we will go ahead. Okay, so as I told you before, this is session 3, and we will start first of all with today's program. So we will talk about the goal for today's session. Then we will discuss some things about the last week topic. We will finish the video that we started watching in the previous session, so we can discuss something of the self-learning strategies that we can identify in the video. Then we will do a practical activity, obviously about the last previous session, which is going to be about the video. Then we will have a space for doubt. We will talk about next week activities. We will do something about this. We will do a summing up about the next week activities. And then we will have again a final space for doubts. So let's start. Our today's goal is going to be that we will make a general review of the main topics seen in the first unit of the Cambridge platform. Today we will start talking about the Cambridge platform and also about the subjects and the topics and all the issues that you reviewed in some cases, because in some others you learned something new, but all the things that you reviewed in the first unit of the Cambridge platform. So let's start. Well, first of all, we are going to finish the video that we started in the previous session. So I'm going to share my YouTube account so you can watch the video, the of the video, and then we will discuss the strategies that she's giving us for self-learning. Okay, so let me just share with you the YouTube channel.
Create.
Can you tell me if you are listening, please?
One opportunity. Absorb English.
Are you hearing the video? Okay. Okay, so let me just turn off my camera and my microphone and let's watch. I remember that we were working with pronunciation because the first thing that she said was about pronunciation. So she was talking about pronunciation, and we will continue.
Just make sure you're doing it consistently. You could even do it by singing English songs. Create one opportunity to absorb English every day. To absorb is to take in information. So you're like a sponge, soaking things up, taking in new ideas, new words, new ways of expressing yourself. And you can do this in lots of different ways, so many ways. Listening to a podcast or an audiobook. You could watch an English movie or any video on YouTube. Read a book or a blog post. In fact, you probably want to mix this up during the week, right? To keep things interesting. A podcast on Monday, read a book on Tuesday, whatever floats your boat. Now, again, this doesn't have to be a huge time-consuming task, but it's worth spending some time searching for the right type of content. It must be stuff that is interesting for you. If you're into football, or you love makeup tutorials, or romance novels, or soap operas. If you love the idea of sailing around the world, I've been watching a YouTube channel called Sailing Le Vagabond, and they vlog about their life sailing around the world on a yacht. In fact, if you're interested, I've added the link in the description below. But the point is, find something that interests you and excites you, because you need to look forward to doing it every single day. It shouldn't feel like you're doing English practice. So I have two little recommendations here. Firstly, you need to find the time that you're going to do it and declare it. That is your daily time to absorb English. So it could be on the bus on your way to work or while you're eating breakfast. I've always found that attaching an activity to the task helps you to make it part of your routine. And while you're doing it, just keep a notebook handy so that you can write down expressions or new words which you can look up and check later on. Simple as that. Writing every day has some amazing benefits. But before I talk about that, I want to make it clear, I'm not talking about writing an essay, okay? I'm just talking about writing a few thoughts or a few ideas down. It only has to take a few minutes, and nobody ever has to see it. It's just for you. So there's a few reasons why writing every day is an excellent habit to get into. It helps your vocabulary to stick. Writing is one of the ways to recall new words and expressions you've come across. When so many of my students have asked me, what is the best way to remember vocabulary? This is my recommendation. As you're reading or watching TV shows or books, you come across new ideas and words and you write them down. But then you start to use them yourself. You think of sentences and your own ideas about how to use these words. That way, you're producing your own sentences rather than just listening to other people's, and it helps it to stick in your mind. And then you can improve it. Once you've written something, you can do so much with it. You can copy paste it into a grammar checker like Grammarly to help you to identify some of the errors that you're making. So Grammarly is free to use. I've included a link in the description below because it's awesome. It helps you to see the mistakes that you're making, like maybe you're using the wrong preposition, or you don't need to use an article when you've written one. So I really recommend that you take a look to help you see and mistakes that you're making. And you can also review your own work. Once you've finished writing, leave it for a few days or a few weeks, come back to it. See if you can make any improvements, or if you can use a thesaurus to look up synonyms and replace some of the words with more advanced ones. These are just a few ideas, but getting into a daily writing practice creates so many opportunities for you to apply what you've learned or what you've seen or what you've experienced in English, and then review it and improve it. Lastly, join an English discussion about stuff that interests you. Now, this sounds serious and maybe complicated, but it's not, I promise. I'm just talking about joining an active group or online community where there are people interacting. They're sharing their ideas, they're giving opinions, and you're able to respond. So you can comment and actually be part of the discussion as it happens. Now, this could be in person, but it can easily be as part of an online community. That makes it, even easier to create a daily habit around it, because it's simply about checking in and seeing what everyone else has been talking about and giving your 2 cents worth. So how do you find these places? It takes a little work. You can't just Google cooking and join the first group that you find. Join a few different ones, see which one is the most active, which one has really interesting discussions happening in it. Sometimes nothing gets posted in these groups for days, and that's not really helpful for you, right? So I would start by writing down your top 5 hobbies or interests. Don't start with English language. What else are you into? Are you into politics or yoga or marketing, photography, sports? I mean, you probably already follow people or are part of groups that are like this. So all you need to do is commit to checking once a day and write a comment. It's not more complicated than that. If someone shared something and they're asking for opinions, don't keep scrolling. It's an opportunity for you to share. So stop, think of a way that you can contribute. Now, I'm going to add some great, really active and interesting groups in the description below, just to give you a few ideas of what I'm talking about. But I want to know if you're already part of some lively Facebook groups or other online communities. What kinds of things do you discuss? And do you ever contribute? So if you can bring those 4 things into your daily routine in some way, you will absolutely, without a doubt, improve your English. Remember that it takes a little bit of time to create good habits. It's not as simple as deciding you're going to do it. So I've got a couple of extra tips to help you get started. Do your research first. Find a blog or a TV series that will keep you interested so you don't have to look for something to do, okay? Give yourself a week or so to find the right type of community to join and be part of the discussions with. Then create a regular schedule to help you get started. And really, I just mean decide when you're going to do these 4 things. So for example, pronunciation practice might be in the bathroom for 5 to 10 minutes every morning as you're getting ready for work. Then listening to your favorite podcast on your way to work and you're writing down your words on the bus. On your lunch break might be the time to check a Facebook group and write a group comment. Then spend 10 minutes at the end of your day writing about what you did or what you learned before dinner. And simply put that on repeat. Very quickly, you'll realize that English has become a regular daily part of your routine. Thank you so much for joining me today. You can connect with me on Instagram and my Facebook here. I hope that you found all of these ideas and these suggestions useful. Let me know if you're doing some of these things already or if you're planning to put any of them into practice. Let me know how it goes.
Okay, so I usually think that sharing with you this kind of material is useful because mainly or principally professors or teachers or the coordinator, for example, ask us to share with you some material for you to keep learning English. I don't know, exercises or something like that. But I think that this kind of material is good for you because it's not just about to absorb the language, like she said during the video. But it's also to know how to absorb the language. I mean, how to study the language in order, or for you to create habits, to keep working on the learning process. So my first question for you is, have you applied some of these strategies? Have you applied some of these strategies for learning English? Whoever wants to tell me something. Have you applied those kind of strategies? For example, Abraham, have you? Abraham, are you there? Okay. Erika, have you ever applied some of these strategies?
Hi, teacher. Not, but
Not really?
not really, but since see the video,
Uh-huh.
starting to apply,
Apply?
apply writing
Okay.
and listening music and
Listen to music. Uh-huh.
more or less speaking. Practice with
Speaking.
my friends.
With your friends. With your friends, you try to practice the speaking part.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I have some comments in the chat. Just let me watch them. Me, yes. Sometimes I try to watch videos in English. Okay, that's a good starting point. Any other strategy that you can think about in order to learn English? We will talk about this on the presentation, but any other strategy for yourself that the teacher, oh, yeah, okay, I use Duolingo. Duolingo is a good app for learning a language. I don't know because I haven't used it, but that's why I'm asking you. Do you think it's a good tool for learning a foreign language?
I think it's more for practice, not too much for learn. But if you
Okay,
have like a really strong base, I think it's really good practice.
okay, it's useful for practicing. Okay, so let's discuss some of the points that she's touching during the video. Really, this is the summary for the last week activities, okay? But because we didn't finish the video, so that's why I make you to watch the video today to finish the video. So the main points for this activity was for you to have some strategies for self-learning. She was talking about pronunciation, absorb language, writing, journal discussion. And I think that this was a good video because she was talking about the 4 skills that you need to develop in order to master English. If you think about it, for example, when she's talking about absorbing language, we can say that she's talking about listening and reading because those were the main activities that she recommended in order to absorb language, reading and listening. And those are 2 of the 4 abilities that we need to master, or the in general that the how can I say this, the examinators review when they are trying to score your level of English for, I don't know, for TOEFL test, for IELTS test. So whichever test you want to take, they are going to score your proficiency in the 4 skills. So absorbing language is about reading and listening. Then she talked about writing, which is another of the 4 abilities. And then she talked about joining a discussion, which is the 4th ability, speaking. So we have 4 abilities for any language: reading, listening, writing, and speaking. She also mentioned a very good point, which is pronunciation. Pronunciation is a kind of how can I say this? Um, Left behind or left out skill because nobody take care of it until the final stage of the learning process. But in reality, pronunciation is a skill that you need to work on since the beginning of your learning path because pronunciation is going to give you fluency. So if you want to gain fluency, you need to learn how to pronounce the words, how to pronounce the sentences, how to pronounce the phrases. So that's why it's important to learn how to pronounce words. And a thing that she didn't mention, but I really want to highlight in this part of the class is grammar. Okay, usually grammar is the ugly sister in the skills approach because we think that grammar is not useful. But as I like to say to my students, remember that grammar is behind all the skills that you need to master in order to learn English. Because grammar, mainly you can see or you can understand the importance of grammar when you are writing or when you are speaking, because you need to think in structures. You need to think how to create an English structure. You need to think about grammatical patterns in order to create structures, not only in writing but also in speaking. But grammar is also important when we are talking about reading and listening, because we can only understand how the words are, how can I say it, are ordered in the sentence when you know grammar. Because you know that first of all, you are going probably to find out the subject. Then you are going to find out the verb. Then you are going to find out the object. So grammar is important for all the skills that you need in order to master English language. I think that probably we forget that ability because our experience in our native language. Because, for example, when we are learning Spanish, when we are kids, grammar is something that we absorb unconsciously. Okay, nobody is telling us how to create a sentence in Spanish, but we are learning how to create a sentence in Spanish. When we go to college or when we go to the school, primary school, elementary school, high school, sorry, high school, then we learn the grammatical rules. But at the beginning of our learning path in the Spanish language, we don't know how we are absorbing the grammatical structures in our head. So that's why I think that in foreign language we tend to forget the importance of learning grammar. Okay, but in this moment, I really want you to understand that grammar is important, especially because we are adults. Somos adultos, okay? We are adults. So we don't learn as we learned when we were kids. And not because we are full or we are dumber than before. No somos más tontos que antes, okay? It's just because our head is in other places. For example, you need to think about your work, you need to think about your kids, you need to think about, I don't know, the things you need to do every day. So you don't have the time to learn as a kid has the time, because the kid has all the time to learn whatever he wants or whatever she wants. But you don't have that time for learning. So that's why it's important for us to understand that learning a new language involves a commitment between yourself and the time that you need to dedicate to master the language, because you are not going to master the language just coming here, for example, coming to this session. You are going to master the language if you commit yourself with your self-learning. Okay, so there, because we need to advance in the next activities. So in this part, do you have any questions? Good night. Yes, you are still in time. Don't worry. Remember that the session is not mandatory. You are not obliged to come here. So don't worry. Okay. Questions? Okay. Let's go with the next part because we need to advance. This week activities. Okay. For this week, you needed to answer the first unit of the Cambridge platform. The first unit was where we are off. We are off. And in this unit, you worked on 3 lessons. The first lesson was This Is Me. The second lesson was The Right Candidate. And the third lesson was We Go Way Back. Okay, so you worked on 3 lessons. Main points for the 3 lessons. In the first lesson, you work in vocabulary for describing accomplishments. Okay, I'm going to ask you in a few minutes some of the vocabulary. Then you reviewed or you revised, because we can also use that verb. Revised is a British verb. Or you revised a very general tense review. Simple, how to use or which are the main meanings for simple present, simple past, and present perfect. And then you also review which are the main meanings for present continuous, past continuous, and present perfect continuous. In the second lesson, you learned some vocabulary for describing key qualities. Again, I'm going to ask you some of this vocabulary in a minute. And in the grammar part, you reviewed dynamic and static verbs. Okay, in the lesson 3, which I really think that is probably is not the most important, because I think that tense review and dynamic and static verbs, well, in this case, everything, because for example, describing accomplishments, in that part, you review or you revised a lot of good collocations. We say that in informal terms, but we can also say phrases or words that usually go together to express a meaning. That's a collocation. Words that usually go together to express or to convey a specific meaning. En Spanish, a eso le llamamos colocaciones. Son palabras que usualmente van juntas para expresar un determinado significado. Las más sencillas que ustedes deberían ya conocer en inglés para este punto, por ejemplo, do the dishes, ¿no? Make the bed. Siempre que vamos a decir hacer la cama, voy a decir make the bed. Para lavar los trastes, do the dishes. Do the laundry, para decir que voy a lavar la ropa. Have dinner, para decir que voy a cenar, ¿no? Have breakfast, para decir que voy a desayunar. Son palabras que van juntas y que sirven para codificar un significado determinado. Y esto es justamente lo que ustedes encontraron describing accomplishments. That's why I think it's a very important part, because you learn some of those collocations. But in describing key qualities, I also think that this part of the lesson was good for you, because you learn the adjective and the noun of the same concept. In this, for example, independent and independency, or curious and curiosity. Okay, and you learn the difference between the adjective and the noun, or at least that was the purpose for that part of the second lesson. But obviously, grammar part is very important for me, because, for example, in the first part, tense review, it was quickly, but you learn the difference or the different meanings that are correlated with the verbal tenses that you already know for this point of the course. So I think lesson 1 and lesson 2 has their importance. But lesson 3 was also very important, because I didn't know that at this moment, or for this course, I didn't know that. But I am starting to understand why the platform is organized in that way. In the previous courses, you have lesson 1, lesson 2, and then lesson 4. They skipped the lesson 3. But in this course, we are recovering lesson 3. Lesson 3 has to do with functional language, which is how to use the language in the normal communication, or in the normal or in the daily interaction with other people. Eso es lo que significa lenguaje funcional. ¿Cómo utilizamos la lengua en conversaciones cotidianas? And you learn in this part how to use the verb meet and how to use the verb know. The difference between meet and know. Then you also learn some phrases to responding an introduction for people. I mean, when I'm introducing myself to anyone else, to someone else, and when someone else is introducing himself or themselves to me. And another important, probably this is the less important part of all the units, but pronunciation, saying or how to pronounce the letter Y in written words. Okay, so I understand now why in this course we are only working with one unit, because one unit has a lot of use in terms of the things that you can learn with the English language in this unit. Okay, so let me begin with this work. Could someone please tell me which is the vocabulary that you learned in lesson 1? I'm gonna say in Spanish. I would like you to tell me the phrase in English. For example, How do we say encarar tus miedos? In English. Encarar tus miedos. Exactly. Face your fears. How do we say tener un negocio, manejar un negocio? Collocations. Remember that we use a specific verb. How do we say manejar un negocio? Take out a business? No. We use another, is not take. Run a business. Thank you very much. Run a business. How do we, remember, run a business? Eso es lo que tienen las colocaciones, que por ejemplo no podemos simplemente decir take out a business. Okay, we need to use run a business. How do we say, for example, estar orgulloso de algo que hicimos? Estar orgulloso de algo que hicimos.
Take pride
in something.
Take pride of something, exactly. And you need to remember all that phrase. Take pride of something. And of course, we need to conjugate the verb take according to the subject. I took praise, I took pride of, I don't know, of doing my classes, for example. Or I take, or she takes pride of running a marathon, for example, because that's the other location. How do we say correr un maratón, which is exactly the same in Spanish, but it's also a verbal phrase. How do we say correr un maratón in English?
Run a marathon.
Run a marathon, exactly. How do we say in English? Esto no, I don't know the exactly translation in Spanish, but it's something like sobreponerse o cumplir el reto, algo así, ¿no? Como sobrepasar el reto. ¿Cómo decimos eso en inglés?
Break a record.
Break a record. Okay, that could be something like that. To do something, but in this case, is to do something faster. Break a record is to do something faster. I'm talking about, let me just give you the definition. To deal with a difficult job or opportunity successfully. To deal with a difficult, rise to the challenge, exactly. Thank you very much. So those phrases are very important for us. I'm gonna give you all the phrases that you learn in the lesson. Break a record, face your fear, get a lot of likes, have a sense of humor. This is a very important one. Have a sense of humor, rise to the challenge, run a marathon, set a goal for yourself, run a business, take pride in something, tell a joke. Telling a joke is a very important collocation, because we're gonna find this collocation in everything. I mean, if you go to TikTok, probably you're gonna find this. You're gonna hear this collocation. Tell a joke, win a medal, and work with your hands. Okay, so be careful with those phrases, because they are very important for our normal use of English. Let me go with the lesson 2. I want you to give me the adjective and the noun. Okay, I'm gonna say the word in Spanish, and please tell me the adjective and the noun. Okay, how do we say in English the adjective and the noun for ambicioso o ambición in English?
Ambitious, I think so.
Ambitious is the adjective or the noun? Ambitious.
The adjective, I think so.
Exactly. And the noun?
Ambition.
Ambition.
Exactly. And also remember that you need to be very careful with this. And also you need to remember that horrible name, because they are horrible. I understand that, because that's grammar. Adjective and noun. Because we need to understand when do we use, or when we use the adjective and when we use the noun. Okay, that's very important. Remember that adjectives usually or mainly or properly they modify another noun. She is ambitious. My ambitious colleague, for example, my ambitious colleague, or my ambitious brother is going to come tomorrow, for example. But ambition is the noun, the abstract thing. Ambition is a general characteristic of business people, for example. No, the ambition. Now help me with confianza. Bueno, en este caso en español también sería. Which one?
Truthful.
Okay, truthful is another one. Is something truthful is the adjective or the noun? Truthful.
Adjective.
The adjective. And the noun would be? The noun.
I don't remember.
Okay. Did someone remember? Does someone remember the noun for truthful? Truth. Okay, but for truthfulness. Okay, truthfulness. Let me just share with you the kind of notes that I take for you to do something like that. Okay, I don't know if you want to do the same, but to do something like that, just for you to take all the grammar that you have in the platform. So I have to be honest with you. I usually just copy paste, but obviously the important parts of the lesson. So we have here a list, for example. Okay, in lesson 1 you have this vocabulary, and as I told you before, I think it's very important for you to have these notes and to practice with those phrases. Break a record, face your fear, get a lot of likes, have a sense of humor, blah blah blah. And then in the second lesson, you have all of these pairs of words. This is very important, pairs of words, okay, pares de palabras, which are related, but in which you need to understand the difference between an adjective and a noun. Ambitious, ambition. Confident, confidence. Creative, creativity. Curious, curiosity. Enthusiastic, enthusiasm. Noun, adjective. Experience, experience. Independent, independence. Polite, politeness. Qualified, qualification. Important. Responsible, responsibility. Successful, success. Truthful, and truthfulness. Okay, why? Because it's important for you to remember them, and also if you want to practice, it's good for you to have the list of those words. Okay, so that's about words. Now let me ask you a question so we can go kind of faster, because I had another activity. I don't know if we're gonna have time. In this presentation, I divide grammar in unit 1. Grammar, in the first lesson, you learn some facts about, or you reviewed, or you revised, or you check again some of the meanings for simple present, present continuous, simple past, past continuous, present perfect, and present perfect continuous. Could someone please tell me, just let me go, because I think I shared with you, but not. Okay. Could someone please tell me which is the difference between simple present and present continuous in terms of meaning? Tell me, please.
Simple present is just the present, but the present continuous is something that I'm doing right now, like I'm in the class right now.
Exactly.
I'm studying. Well, no. I know. I don't know.
For example, an example. Right now, what you are doing right now?
I'm watching the presentation.
Exactly. I'm watching the presentation right now. Very good. Present continuous is good. But simple present is not just the present. When do we use the simple present?
Oh, when something happens, always.
Exactly. Habits or routines. Okay, remember, simple present is for habits and routines. Just let me write it. Habits and routines. And present continuous is for ongoing actions at the moment. Very good. Now, could please someone tell me what happened with simple past and past continuous? What is the difference between simple past and past continuous? Simple past and past continuous? Nobody?
I can do it too.
You know? So yes, please.
Well, simple past is something that happened in the past.
Exactly.
And past continuous, I think it's usually used for actions when no, when you're telling someone about an action that you did and it was
Okay.
happening at that time.
Okay. It's exactly as the present continuous tense. Ongoing actions in the past. ¿No? Que es un poco lo que me imagino que tratabas de explicar, ¿no? Acciones que duran en el tiempo, pero en el pasado, ¿no? I was watching a series yesterday, for example, ¿no? Yo estaba viendo una serie ayer. But simple past, exactly, something that happened in the past, but is finished. ¿Ok? Algo que ya está terminado, algo que pasó en el pasado, pero que ya está terminado. Y también algo que a veces falta de agregar es que son acciones puntuales, porque no sabemos cuánto duran. I ate an apple yesterday. ¿Ok? Es una acción pasada, terminada. Pero no sabemos cuánto duró, no sabemos muy bien a qué hora pasó. Obviamente, por nuestro conocimiento de mundo, sabemos que pues no se la comió en un segundo, pero tampoco nos dice el verbo nada sobre cuánto tiempo duró comiéndose la manzana, ¿vale? I was eating an apple yesterday in the afternoon. Tampoco nos dice cuánto dura la acción, pero ya sabemos que hubo un periodo de tiempo. I was eating an apple yesterday in the afternoon. Okay, very good. Let's go with the other one because if not, we're not going to finish. What about present perfect? Present perfect continuous. Which is the difference between present perfect and present perfect continuous? Josué?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right.
Present perfect
Thank you.
and present perfect continuous.
I'm watching right now my notes. And present perfect is use the present perfect for past experience with no specific time given. For example, if I say, I've been to New York City twice. It's an example that I have written.
And the other one?
And the present perfect continuous. Use the present perfect continuous for an action that started at some time in the past and is still in progress.
Exactly. It started in the past and is still on progress, or in progress in this case. In progress. Thank you very much. Exactly. Present perfect experiences with no time. Okay, because we know that something happened or something has happened, but we don't know when. Like the example he gave us. Which was your example? I've been. ¿Cuál fue tu ejemplo, Josué? I have been to.
First example is I've been to New York City twice.
I've been to New York City twice. We know that happened twice, but we don't know when, okay? It could be 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we don't know when, okay? But we know that that happened twice. And with the present perfect continuous, we have an action that started in the past and is still in progress. For example, I have been given English lessons since 7 o'clock. Yo he estado dando una clase de inglés desde las 7 de la tarde. The action started in the past, but is still in progress because we haven't finished. So that's why, or that's the context in which we use the present perfect continuous. I have been giving English lesson since 7 o'clock. Okay. And the last one, very quickly. Let's see if we have time. What is the difference between a static verb and dynamic verbs? What is the difference between dynamic verbs and static verbs? Who can tell me that?
A dynamic verb describes an action in progress or a plan. They can be used in continuous forms.
And stative?
Stative describes personal qualities, preference, or opinions. They are generally not used with continuous forms.
Exactly. This is very important. Let me explain this in Spanish because I think it's very important for us to know this difference. Por eso empezaron la lección haciendo una revisión entre simple y continuo. Porque una de las diferencias principales entre dynamic y static verbs es que los static verbs normalmente no pueden ir en las formas continuas. Porque es como decía Josué, se utilizan para dar opiniones, para hablar de estados, ¿sí? Para hablar de cosas que no necesariamente cambian. Mientras que los dynamic verbs se pueden, o más bien, siempre son, favorecen, vamos a decirlo así, el uso del tiempo continuo, ¿vale? Porque son acciones que pueden estar en progreso. I'm running, she was running, I have been running, ¿ok? Static verbs, no. I think, I believe, I have, I own, okay? That's the difference, the main difference in terms of grammar and also in meaning. Because the static verbs are for opinions, for states, and dynamic verbs are for normal actions. We can say something like that. But another important fact that you need to remember about verbs in terms of dynamic and static is that sometimes we can have verbs that we can use both ways. Vamos a tener verbos que podemos utilizar de las dos maneras. Y también hay una diferencia. Esos ejemplos los encontraron también en la lección. Por ejemplo, I'm thinking on going tonight to the party. Is an action, a process. I'm thinking right now to go tonight to the party. Estoy pensando en ir en la noche a la fiesta. Y eso es un proceso. Y el verbo lo estamos utilizando como dynamic verb. Pero si yo digo, I think that vegetables are good for health, por ejemplo, ¿no? Esa es una opinión y ahí estoy utilizando el verbo en su forma simple. Esto es muy importante, ¿vale? Porque dependiendo de cómo queremos utilizar el verbo, es que si lo vamos a utilizar como presente, como simple o como forma continua. Y esto tampoco se preocupen tanto como de, ya lo tengo que memorizar. No. Con la práctica se van dando cuenta de cómo utilizar el verbo. Pero sí es importante que ya tengan noción de esa diferencia entre usos y que existen verbos que pueden utilizar de las dos maneras y va a haber una diferencia de significado, ¿vale? Como en I'm thinking or I think. Or for example, I'm tasting or I taste. Or something tastes. For example, the cake tastes good. El pastel sabe bueno. Y eso no va a cambiar. ¿Sí? Mientras el pastel exista, a menos que esté en estado de putrefacción, va a saber bueno. Y eso es un stative verb. The cake tastes good. But if I'm saying, I'm tasting this pasta, estoy probando esta pasta, es una acción, ¿vale? Porque solamente estoy probando para ver si sabe bueno, pero es una acción que empieza en un momento y termina en otro. Por eso es que también se suele utilizar en su forma continua, ¿vale? Entonces, con esto vamos a terminar hasta aquí. Let's go with the next part. Any questions until this point? I know that probably you have a lot of them, but I don't know if you have a specific question that we can deal with in a minute. Questions? Yes or not? Okay, no? None by now? Okay. Let's go with the next week activities, which is going to be the second unit. Just let me go to the presentation because we don't have to. Okay, here. Next week activities. You need to deliver the activities for Unit 2, the future of food. Remember that you need to complete 2 activities. The first one is the general activity, which is a student's course, Unit 2, the future of food. This is worth 0.80, sorry. And then you have the Unit 2 progress test, which is going to be worth again 0.80. And at the end of the week, you need to gain to gain 1.60 points. ¿Ok? So, tenemos entonces dos actividades. La primera que es la actividad general, que vale 0.80 puntos, y la segunda que sería el Progress Test, que vale 0.80 puntos. Y esto va a dar un total de 1.60 puntos. The due date for this second unit is going to be March 31st, 2025 at 3 a.m. Okay? And some important things that you need to remember, because I thought that Unit 1 was shorter than it was, but in reality it wasn't. Okay, they are large units, so you need to remember that units are larger than they seem to be. So you need to plan, or you need to give yourself enough time to answer all the activities. Okay, so please try to schedule a specific time to answer the units. Remember that I don't have access to all your answers. I'm gonna, or the idea is that I am going to score the first unit this weekend. So just let me do that in this weekend, so you can have your complete scorings at the end of the by Monday. Scores are generated automatically. The par that Cambridge platform evaluates is generated automatically. Remember also that you must have activated Cambridge platform from Blackboard, because this is very important. I don't think that right now any of you have any of this problem, because I haven't received any message with this kind of issues. And my final question is, have you had any problem with Cambridge platform? As I told you before, I don't have access and I cannot solve a lot of those problems, but it's important for me to know if you have had any problem with the platform, because I need to tell the coordinator these kind of issues. So do you have, or have you had any problem with Cambridge platform? Everything is fine for me. Okay, anyone else? Everyone is good with the platform? Okay, cool. Okay, summing up, let me just choose a victim. Okay, Josue, help me. Could you do a summary about the activities you must do for next week?
We have to do basically unit 2 and 3.
Just 2. Just unit 2.
Just 2. Okay, sorry.
Just unit 2. Remember, and the activities are? Okay, remember, the general activity, la actividad general, que sería el Student's Course Unit 2, the Future of Food, and the Progress Test. Solamente la unidad 2. Obviously, if you want to go ahead with the other units, you can do that. But remember that just for this week, you need to deliver Unit 2, the Future of Food. Okay? Okay, questions about next week activities? questions, doubts?
Everything's fine, teacher.
Okay. Then remember academic integrity. Remember, even when I told you that you can do a summary about the information that you find in the platform, remember that that summary, that information is for you. Okay. So don't share that information with anyone. Don't, especially don't share that information through internet, because this is Cambridge information. So don't divulgate, don't public that kind of information. This is important for us. Okay, so academic integrity. And if you don't have any, sorry, because it should set thanks. So if you don't have any other question, because it's 8 o'clock, thank you very much, and we will see us again next Friday. Next Friday, yes. Okay.
Thank you, teacher.
See ya. Bye bye. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Hasta la próxima. Bye bye.